Bummer. Good morning. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Kind of nice. Just a reminder, next weekend is daylight savings. Everything's pretty much automatic now that they switch on their own, but keep it in mind. Accidents. We're up to 11 accidents. 2 were not our fault. 9 were our fault. 3 times this year we've rear-ended someone. 3 times our swing out caused the accident. And then side swipes. Those are our biggest ones. Which, when you hear that, what do you think? What do you think is the cause of this? Any ideas?
In a hurry? Not checking mirrors.
Mirrors. So 2, and also, I don't know if you want to call it overconfidence. But I don't know if that's part of it as well. What I can tell you, right after we went over mirrors and tail swing, within 2 weeks we had 2 more accidents, which were tail swing. So Matt and I decided we're going to try something. We're going to bring those drivers in and we're going to see, do they pay attention? Do they know how to set their mirrors? Do they know what their tail swing is?
Are we hitting things or cars with the tail swing?
Other vehicles, yeah. And they did it perfectly. So it's not that the training isn't there. It's not that, we are training this and going over it, which then, what do you guys think it is? Yeah, I mean, I really want to hear from you guys because.
Could it be the tail swing, just for example, you look and you start turning and then someone comes up in your area?
These are stationary vehicles.
Oh. Because I know turning from Viking into the U, I'm in that left turn lane, I still don't, even though it's clear, I don't turn left because the parents are flying by you on the right.
Right.
So I kind of watch to make sure they're not.
So I would have to say, one thing is, slow down. You guys are paid by the minute, right? There's no hurry. Safety first, that's what we always say, safety first. And if you're not sure that you can get into a spot at the middle school or out on the roads, don't do it, right? Like my first thought is on, if you're on Viking, we all know what time you guys are leaving, right? It should not, it's March now. There shouldn't be anyone who doesn't understand what time the middle school is leaving. And so if everyone's loaded and they're calling it within 30 seconds, 60 seconds, stay on Viking. Don't pull in there, right? If you're a sub, you're not used to doing this every day, and they're leaving soon, stay on Viking. Because you're gonna make your life easier, but you're also gonna make everyone who's trying to get out of the middle school's life easier, right? Stay on Viking and let them out, and you can pull right in and load. And by the time those buses get out, you get loaded, you're not behind, right? Pull in, load, pull right back out. Yes.
Most tail swings happen because of misjudgment.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times what happens is the driver needs to make a wider turn. So when you're making that right turn, you need to be closer to the white line.
We call it squaring it off.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, correct?
Yes.
So that is one thing, you do have, anyone here know what squaring it off means? No? So, typically what we teach is when you're gonna try to make that left-hand turn, you're gonna pull up almost to the point where it looks like you're not gonna be able to make that turn, but you are. And you're gonna square it off so that you don't hit the car here, right? Tail swing is what, you wanna go over the back, the duels?
I had something else
Okay, go ahead.
our bowling bus this morning did not show up. Is there anybody that can run and do bowling right now?
Anyone?
I mean, can you go and do it? They're waiting at the high school right now.
Okay.
I know the must be trucks, so.
Yeah,
I also think must be trucks.
Got it? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Do not hurry, they wait for us.
You know, I'm not a big fan of McKinley when I'm going to the high school. I mean, all the parents park on every side, that's really challenging, so, I mean, that's not a tail swing, but some days it's a lot heavier, more people park. That's my big frustration. I take my time and I'm careful, but
Right.
there's no rhyme or reason why these people park anywhere. It's frustrating to me. It's been like that ever since I started driving.
And they claim to always have someone out there to help with this.
No.
But I don't think that's really happening. And we are all, believe me, all dealing with shortages right now. I mean, we used to be able to get up to the schools once in a while and remind people or help out, or see these situations and be able to contact the school and ask them for help. But it seems like no matter what we do, those parents at the high school are just gonna do whatever they wanna do.
And they look at their phones and they ignore you.
Yep,
Like,
I don't see you.
just a little.
Like a child, you know, where they think, because they can't see you,
Yeah.
that you can't see them.
To your comment on Viking, like when you pull into north, I don't get into the left-hand lane. I take the full lane so that they can't.
Take it all so they can't get around it, yeah.
Any other comments like that? Because those people, drivers that are new, they need to hear these things. How are you handling these situations? Because it's only gonna help all of us out in the long run. So any comments like that that you have that will help people, again, that are new to the district, that are not familiar with our schools, with our parents?
I think it would help them in the U if the right side, the old 6 through 10, maybe didn't pull up fully to that line, so they have more space to get into those new 3 spots that you have in the flagpole, because those are the 2 tightest spots.
Yeah.
And if you are brand new, it's very difficult for them.
Can everyone hear that?
I
So
mean,
if you're on that right-hand side, where all the buses are, they're lined up on this side, you get to the U, you have 2 buses up there. This bus that starts the right-hand side, maybe if you don't pull up so far, it gives them a little more room to get in there. Patty?
This one isn't for middle school, but I noticed when I'm coming down 38, like to turn left onto Anderson,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed cars in general, when they're turning onto Kimmyville, are really cutting it close. They're going
Yeah.
into the lane, and it's like, oh my God. And then I noticed our buses who are coming out are going when those are angling like that. I think you just need to wait a little longer, even though they get mad at you from behind. And then when you turn left, we're not squaring up, we're going on an angle right towards that bus, cause I'm like, you're gonna hit. I'm getting anxiety.
There is a lot of defensive driving that needs to be done, right? We all know it, we all see it. You guys sit higher, you see them looking at their cell phones, right? You see how big of a hurry they're in, how tight they're cutting these corners like you just mentioned. A lot of defensive driving going on.
If
this is just more of a pet peeve of mine. If you're going south on Anderson to take a left on State Street,
Mhm.
and you're gonna get stuck at that light, especially if you're the first bus, go way to the left, by the yellow lanes, so that the guy taking a right. doesn't hit you. So I see some guys who'll just go all the way to the right. And then I
Mhm.
see less room to take your right on that.
I agree.
Yeah, if you got two buses doing that, that's a timing thing.
Yep,
So the guy making the right probably should just hang back a little bit, wait till the guy clears,
mhm,
going left and then go.
yep.
So you're gonna miss it.
Or just slow down.
I will say that is one of the biggest things. Slow down, oh my goodness. You know, Matt and Kelly have been hopping on buses. Finally, you know, we're able to get, caught up enough, you know, to get out there and to try to see what's going on. And, they see a lot when they're on a bus, cause you guys don't know that they're there, right? And that is one of the biggest things I would say. There's, again, I don't know what the hurry is, cause you're paid by the minute. If you're getting behind, all you have to do is call in and let us know that you're getting behind. Matt, you've been out there, do you have anything to add, or?
Do you think anything has to do with the fact that it's because we're paid by the minute, like it's so critical that we punch out at this time, and if we don't, we gotta fill out a form, say, because we're pressured to be done at a certain time?
No. No.
Has nothing to do with it?
I don't think so, because if you continuously clock out a few minutes late,
If you're part of the meeting, come
she'll
on over
adjust your
here.
time.
Well,
If
have
you-
to-
if you have
fill out a
to, you
form.
would.
You have to fill out a form, if it's more than 2 minutes or something?
Well, and that's what Brandy and I have been noticing, because we go over payroll, is people aren't filling out this route adjustment form that we have. You guys are just clocking out late, and a lot of people aren't even filling out discrepancy forms as to why they're clocking out late. If you guys are consistently running into traffic issues, or if your route's getting you hung up somewhere, we need to know about that so we can give you the extra time. We don't want you rushing.
But then it's like, you know, and then so to be like that for a few days, and then all of a sudden, you'll hit every light, and you're early. You're on time, and you know, like, sometimes it varies.
And that's what those discrepancy sheets are for. That's why we take a look at it over the course of usually a week or two before we come to a final decision of do we need to adjust your time or not. Because there are those times you might hit every red light going down 38, or, you know, get backed up behind parents because there's something going on at the school that day, whatever it is.
And we're here like trying to find, you know, what that time is for you. You know what I mean? And we have an obligation also to the taxpayers to make sure, you know, that we're not just like, well, whenever you get here, you get here. We can't do that either, right? So, that's why we're trying this, where, you know, we do it for a week or two. Tell us what your average time is. And if you go beyond that, let us know. And if we keep getting these from you, then we're gonna call you in and say, hey, do you need to do a time adjustment on this? Because things can change as well. Do you wanna go over anything with tail swing? Pivot point?
Oh, so
Don't do it.
when we talked about tail swing, was it 2 months ago now? You gotta remember that your pivot point is your rear wheels. So you have potentially 13 feet worth of tail swing behind you, depending on how fast you're going and how tight you're trying to turn. On average, it's about 3 feet is what you've got that actually sticks out. But you could have more than that depending on what you're doing. The faster you go, like Mary said, slow down, because the faster you go, the more tail swing you have when you're coming around that corner. You actually turn better going slower.
And probably do less damage.
Yes, that too.
It's a lot, believe me, we hear, about it. And, my boss is asking me, what is going on over there? And we have a lot of new drivers, and I'm not placing blame anywhere, so please don't think that. But it is one of the things we have to take into consideration. We have new drivers, who are not either familiar with Geneva, at all, or familiar with the schools, or how we handle things at different schools. And so, if you guys are in a position to tell us, it doesn't have to be something over the radio, we don't have to call people out over the radio in a rude way. But you can come and tell us, this is what I'm seeing consistently. Or we can very nicely over the radio say, hey, I'll spot you, or typically we don't do that here. That would cause an accident. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Anybody's ever heard that saying? There is a way that you could get on the radio and help someone, right? And also that person who's getting that feedback, there's no reason for retaliation, they're trying to help, right? So we have to figure out how to work together. And at least these popular areas that seem to be a struggle for new people, speak up or come tell us, and we'll let them know. Sorry.
Landscaping trucks are coming out, probably.
Yes.
No free garage sale.
No free.
I'll be back down for Alexander.
And I don't care what we're working on in the office, if you're not comfortable, call us. We will go out there. We will go out and spot you. Sometimes, you've heard it, I'm sure, on the radio before, if somebody's empty, they'll say, I'm right here, I'll go spot them. So, I'd rather have a late bus, right, than an accident. Third time's a charm, sorry.
I was just gonna continue, so when we had those drivers come in for the tail swing, we came up with an additional course to see if you guys know where your tail swing is. So if anybody is curious about if they know where their own tail swing is or wants more assistance on it, we can set that up. You just gotta let me know. Did you have a question, Laura?
No, I was gonna say, you mentioned that the slower you go, the less swing.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta remember too, which I found out, if you're not really moving anywhere and you turn, you still got a nice swing.
Yep, very true.
I always seem to move a little slowly in the direction I'm going before I really get into my tail swing, so it kind of buffers you a little bit, Instead of just going straight and turning, you sort of cheat your way over a little bit and then turn.
Absolutely, it depends on, so the squaring off is if you have a car here, you square off. But tail swing is exactly what you're talking about, doing that slower and making sure where the back is. Terry?
I think the biggest thing is use your mirrors.
Yep. And your student mirror is not a rear view mirror. That's one thing we talked about as well. You need someone spotting you.
It's just another tool in his toolbox.
How about older students, say if you got, could you put them out the spot for you?
No. I can tell you, I've had to do this before when I have driven, is you can pull the key and you can walk to the back of the bus if you're not sure. And if there's no one around, I'm sure most of you have probably, been in that situation if you take field trips, you try to park out in a way you can get out, and then there's still somebody who's gonna be right next to the bus. Pull the key and walk to the back. Anything else? I know you guys have more. Think about it. And maybe this is something we'll do, you know, every safety meeting. If you guys think of something, you don't even have to wait for the safety meeting. If you want to give us some information that you thought of, we can email it out. Something else to think about. All right. Time off requests. We are getting a lot of time off requests. And you know, we go over this when you're hired, we go over this every August at in-service and then throughout the year. You're expected to work what's on the calendar, right? So Geneva, you have a calendar to go by. Those of you that don't drive specifically to Geneva schools, we make it clear, early dismissal days. Everyone has to be here to get the routes covered and get the kids home. And I think we've been really good about working with the drivers, and when they have what we call a major life event, of letting those people take that time to be able to be with their family or whatever it is that they need to do. But when we get requests that are, oh, I didn't know that we were working that day. I mean, I've even gotten, I didn't know I was working that week. You have to pay attention to the calendars. It is no longer gonna be an acceptable excuse. It is something that is on my list to discuss with the committee. How do we stop this? Because the people who are showing up every single day are getting tired of it too. You know, they're working their schedules around the calendar that they were given just to see other people taking vacations or leaving early for vacations. And that's not right, especially if they have a family emergency. Not that I would ever tell someone no if they had a family emergency, we're gonna figure it out. It's just putting a strain on our system here. What are we at? We have 5 out on long-term medical right now? We are down monitored. We start out every day down 8. I have 9 subs. So 1 call in and we have no one sitting. And we're working towards it, and we keep hiring. It seems like though as soon as we get someone hired, you know, someone else, you know, is dealing with a long-term illness, like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Dave?
When we we get our route sheet first of the year, our yellow folder, does that have the blackout dates in it at that time?
So it's one of the things that we've talked about. I think, you know, we make it clear what the blackout dates are, but maybe that is something that we need to start listing every month, just as a
But I mean,
reminder for
do
people.
we know that from day one, what?
We do know that you can't take, the day before or after a long, you know, an extended
Right.
period of time off, and no early dismissal days. Anything else?
To answer the question, other than the obvious blackout dates, no, because those come as when the middle school decides when they're going to Six Flags, those become a blackout date.
Okay.
When all of a sudden I've got 5 people requesting off and 4 out on medical, then we put it out as a blackout date. So we really don't know until we get closer.
And depending on what school you're at, they're different. St. Peter's is different than the normal
St.
calendar.
Peter's can be different, but that means you have 2 calendars to
Right.
keep track of, right? So your main calendar is St. Pete's, but you also have to take into consideration Geneva early dismissal, which is true of, you know, our private placement or any other, you know, driver that goes to a school other than a Geneva public school. Any questions on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
say for instance, in May 17th, my grandson is graduating in another city,
Mm-hmm.
and I put in for it, you saying you would deny that?
What we're saying is, we're going to look at something like that as a major life event. Is there anyone here that would disagree with that? Is there anyone here that would want to see their grandson or one of their grandchild graduate? Those are some, so I would approve that.
I'm not going, but I'm just asking.
So there is someone that
And they wanted me to come.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think I'm coming. You know, he's graduating from high school, so I told him. But, I'm not going.
Well, I feel badly. So that would be though, something we would approve. We also have like, we've had parents who've had to get their child to college. A major life event, right? You gotta make sure they get there and get settled in. A lot of us have become grandparents, right? And we want to be there, right? And not all of us have our kids close enough that we can say, just give me one day. Some of us want to go to another state and be there for that, right? Those are the types of things that, you know, we're taking into consideration that we have to be able to let you guys do that. It just obviously wouldn't be right for us to be going back and forth. It's just a grandchild. No, we don't feel that way, right? So that's why we're saying, like, if you don't need that time, or if it is just to extend your vacation, to be considerate that other people have life events going on. Make sense? All right, I do want to say a huge thank you to those of you who continue to come in and ask if there's anything you can do to help. I'm sure you guys are seeing that transportation was one of the hardest hit departments, you know, to try to keep this up and running and going. And believe me, we're doing way better than other districts. And other districts are still running late buses, where we've at least been able to keep our head above water. Like I said, we may go one step forward, two back, but we still get the routes covered. Is it one time we ran a late bus this year because we didn't have enough drivers? Once. And even that was 7 minutes late, and it was one student.
That's great.
So, this isn't, you know, like, I want to put out there that thank you as well for being here. You know, because there's so many people who show up day after day after day and take this very seriously. And I think most of you do. You know, this isn't me coming down really on anyone. It's me just putting it out there, what we're still dealing with in there. But the constant offers to help us, it does, it lifts our spirits. The constant comments, you guys are doing all right, you know. It makes all the difference in the world. But every single day, we could, for 2 weeks, walk into, oh my God, how are we gonna fix this? And we keep figuring it out one way or another. But for you guys to recognize that and say something, thank you. It really does go a long way. All right, important dates. March and April are out, so if you don't have that, you can ask in the office, but they were emailed out. Reminder that Geneva schools are in attendance Friday, April 7th. It's Good Friday. And years ago, we were not in attendance, and that has changed. it is an early dismissal day as well. So even if your school is not scheduled to go on that Friday, you're more than likely expected to be here to help with early dismissal. That sheet shouldn't change much from, the one we just did, but we're just going through it now and making sure there are no changes. I think Batavia Core and Seal are also in session on that day. And then a reminder that you guys did receive 3 days of holiday pay during the week of Thanksgiving. And one of those holidays was Good Friday. So I just don't want anyone to think that, you guys didn't get that holiday pay. You just got it during Thanksgiving. We do have the calendars for summer school. Matt, did we send them out? Did we email out? Yeah.
I think Brady sent the actual calendar, so.
Right. So if you have any questions on that, let us know. We're still working on the 23-24 calendars. Geneva's out there though. It's, you can pull it up on the site, or we can send it out to everyone as well if we haven't already.
Mary, I'm not sure I understood on that. So Geneva has her calendar, but it's still not updated?
So 23-24, Geneva,
Uh-huh.
the calendar's there.
Uh-huh.
It's already been decided. But there's still a lot of private placements who do not have their calendars out. But at least Geneva is there, so those of you, if you wanna look at that. And I'm sure St. Charles would be there. Any public school usually has theirs out by now. So those should be there. But we are working on getting those private placement calendars. And then the 23-24 startup, the route review is Monday, August 8th, and that runs from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then Tuesday, August 9th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that's when you can come in and look at the routes.
16th, school starts at 16th.
And this will go out in an email, and it will get posted. 2-hour refreshers, there's one 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Tuesday the 9th. So, and this isn't us, this is the ROE. They said we're too big now, they will not do one, we have to split it. So if you're lower in seniority, you would be coming on Tuesday for your 2-hour from 8 to 10. And then on, our in-service is Wednesday, August 10th. So we will have breakfast at 7:30 as we usually do, 7:30 to 8. And then, the more senior drivers will have their 2-hour refresher from 8 to 10. And then at 10, we'll go into our typical, whether it's the nurses coming and, talking with us, or Matt and I going over, what's going on for the year.
What day was that? You said, was it tonight? Wednesday?
Wednesday's the 10th.
No, Wednesday's the third.
Is it the 9th? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Wednesday's the ninth. Then bid on 10th and 11th?
10th and 11th, yeah. So then your bidding will be, Thursday and Friday, 10th and 11th. Those of you who haven't been here for that, it's basically set up in seniority order. Every 10 minutes, we have a driver coming in. We do what's called a cheat sheet, which has all the routes on it, and then the time, daily time for those routes. And as people bid, we keep marking them out. And, you know, every hour or 2 hours, we'll send out an update so that you guys aren't looking at 60 routes to pick from.
We can start at the bottom of your list this year, right?
Yeah.
I think so too.
So you say pick routes as the.
Yep, so again, it goes in seniority order.
So is there anything left on those days?
Oh, yeah.
We've got parking lot.
Yeah, parking lot
Just over.
Spreading the salt.
What is it?
What's the in-service, what date is that?
Wednesday. With the ninth. Yeah. Wednesday the ninth,
Excuse me, you did say breakfast will be served?
at 7:30, yes.
Okay, so breakfast won't be served on Thursday and Friday.
No, you have to bring your own breakfast though.
Yeah. Okay.
Susan?
Could you just repeat what's happening on Monday, 8, is that 8/8, or 8/7, I guess?
8/7.
Anything, what's happening on Monday?
That is just where you can come in and, look at the routes.
Look at it.
They're all laid out by school.
Okay.
Mhm.
8 is over here.
And then the same with Tuesday, you're gonna, the less senior drivers will be in for their 2 hour from 8 to 10, and then from 10 to 3, you can come in and look at routes again.
We're gonna have the same buses, right?
Yes, we are. And that's another thing I brought up. Another thing that, you know, we're constantly having to deal with is, as these buses get older, obviously, we're gonna continue to have issues with these buses. But right now, if I ordered even 10 72 passenger buses, we wouldn't get them until January of '24. And then getting the parts, and you have to know, you know, all districts now are kind of changing over to this because you can't get new buses, and even if you could, they're a lot more expensive than they used to be. So kind of everyone falling into the same as to a 5-year turnover, and so parts are becoming a huge issue. Because they're short on parts anyway. And it seems to be whoever yells the loudest gets the parts, you know, so very time consuming as well for us to constantly be contacting Midwest Transit and saying, you gotta get this perk to us, we have too many buses down. Which is every early dismissal. When Dave called in this morning for his bus, I was like, well, at least we made it through early dismissal. Just gotta get back up and running by April 6th or 7th, whatever it is.
Those guards off the front, or can we?
Usually about spring break, we take them off.
It is gonna get cold again this week.
Okay.
We were talking about that this morning. We typically wait until spring break and then it'll be consistently warmer. All right. A reminder, you need to get an iPass. And I've heard in passing people saying it doesn't matter because all our buses are linked to the iPass. It does matter. Because you only get 5 a month, right? So if they have to research it and find that you're linked to this iPass, after the 5th time that they have to do this, we get charged every toll as, we don't get 50% off anymore. So it does cost us. We may not get the $20 fine, but it is costing us. You know, and all it takes, we have routes that go out of district, and so, when we say need to keep one of those buses here at the garage to work on it or something, and that's all it takes is, them being in a different bus for a couple of days and not thinking like, oh no, the iPass, you know, and we're over our 5 already. So it does make a difference. Any questions on that? No? Any questions on any of that?
When do we, drive the buses? Is that the week of the,
Monday to.
Monday, the 11th?
Yes.
Yes.
And then
Sorry.
school starts, Wednesday?
Is it the 11th?
I think it's the 14th.
14, I was gonna say that doesn't sound right. 14,
Monday the 14th?
yes,
And then school starts on the 16th.
correct. And so that Monday, you drive your AM only. You drive it at the designated time if you wanna get paid. And the reason we do that is so we can make sure it all works together.
Any chance that we could get paid for like an hour or two to clean these buses before, cause after 5 years, they're pretty nasty.
Mhm.
I think I spent considerable amount of time with my husband.
I think we can definitely check into that. Definitely. Cause I know they are getting a little dirty and unfortunately, not enough hours in the day.
Are they still planning on the parking lot being up and ready? next
Yes.
door? By fall?
Yes, that's what we're shooting for.
Really?
Have everybody here.
And that's gonna be hard for everybody to get out, right, for the buses, that's gonna be a big.
Are they gonna have a director?
Not me. I'm not standing out there.
Or at least a squad car for the first couple weeks to let everybody know.
That's an idea, we could see.
You know, cause this, that, ooh.
It's going to definitely be a challenge, for us to, it's gonna come down to timing, and it's always gonna come down to,
Gotta get there at the last minute.
it's those across the street recognizing that we're back in session, and for the new people that have moved in, realizing that, you know, we've been stopped there, we have the right of way when the traffic clears to go. It's always, it was a lot bigger challenge when we were first out here. I think, you know, it's gone pretty well since, Dave, was it you that let them all know over there? You know, there's a, you have to let us out sooner or later, we've been sitting here waiting, you know, just because you're going right doesn't mean you have the right of way. Yeah.
Do you know how they're gonna be lined up here, how the buses are gonna be lined up now? And
So-
how many will there be then, including some buses and stuff?
What do we have? 40,
Oh, yeah.
48 big buses and 28
Yep.
small buses, so 76 buses will be here. We have to keep the small buses inside because of catalytic converters, but we will line them up in seniority order, and then we'll go from there by seniority with the big buses. And then they will most likely be on an angle out here.
Any plugs or no, to plug them in?
I don't think that we
Probably
really
not,
have
but
an
they're not
issue.
even really necessary.
Mm-mm.
We don't get the cold enough weather that like Wisconsin or
Yeah.
Minnesota or somebody would need. They're nice and helpful,
Right,
but
I seen it St. Charles when I drove by, I was just wondering if that was something for us to.
we have glow plugs in there. If you cycle the key a couple of times before you start it, you should start even on the coldest of days.
We do.
I got buses started, they didn't wanna stay running, but we did get buses started on that deep freeze day.
Rudy?
Steve, he brought up a good point, you know the parking lot that's next to us? Are they, I don't know if you've seen the plans, have they put in a separate entrance, or are we all funneling out here?
So what they've done is, they're bringing the cars in to go the south end of the pumps and into the parking lot, and then coming out the north end of the pumps. Does that make sense?
So there will be another entrance?
No.
As opposed to just this one? or
It
is
will
this the-
not be necessarily another entrance, it'll be the same entrance, it's just now, instead of pulling in and going this way, you guys are gonna go this way, and you're gonna go to the south of the pumps to go park. But when you're coming out, you're gonna be on the north end of the pumps. We will not be parking up here anymore, so that will open that up.
But it'll just be one entrance for everybody?
So-
Instead of two?
They will have a separate entrance but they're gonna block it off, it's really just for the railroad. Or, you know, if if a truck needs to get in here for some reason. So it's all in and out of our regular spot.
I guess just because, boy, with twice as many buses pulling out all at once, oh my gosh, it's gonna be.
You're crossing yours.
It's not bad now, but it's gonna get kinda tight.
It will.
I mean, it'll just be backups, I think.
It will, but if you think about it, St. Charles does it, and they have 120 buses. They only have one way in and out of their facility on Peck Road, and they were really close to a light, so I don't even know how they are getting in and out of there, 120 of them.
Oh, yeah, thick.
Mhm.
It's time, yeah.
Mary, I was just asking about how they're gonna be lined up, and obviously you're not gonna know until people bid. But on Friday, I had the small bus all the way in the last bay.
Yep.
And the buses were behind me,
Mhm.
and it was dark out. So I had to get out, cause I just couldn't tell how close I was to those buses in order to get a small bus out of that bay.
Mhm. And I think we had more than usual here,
We did.
because we were expecting snow. And we wanted to keep everyone out of Kessler so that, O&M, who's also still struggling, would only have to worry about our lot and not north and south. So we brought more buses over here than we typically do, and we just had the drivers park them on the east end. So that is not something that we'll be doing, we may have them too deep, side by side, and then the rest on an angle. We'll have to, probably physically, they'll go out there and see what works. I know we're okay with 2. But yeah, after that, then we need to start, making other plans, does it have to be just short, small buses all the way, at the end as well. Any other questions? All right, I'm done. Matt?
A couple of other reminders.
Got excited.
What a tease.
At the middle school, make sure you guys are parked in your spot in between your lines and not pulled up too far or too far back. We had a bus last week that was not parked fully in their spot and very on an angle, and it was difficult for even a car to get by that, to get through the U. Make sure you're not pulling up by the office, fuel pumps, or by the mechanics bay unless you're told to do so with your bus. I've had to remind several people recently to not do that. If you're a new driver, I know you may not have been told, so if mentors could add that to their list of things to go over with drivers, is that you cannot pull up in front of mechanics bays, by the fuel pumps, or by the office with your bus. Parking blocks, parking inside here. As many of you know, a lot of the smaller parking blocks have gotten destroyed over the years. The rebar's broken, they're pushed out of the way. Well, we've started to notice that some of the bigger ones, they're bending the rebar because people are parking up against the blocks. Those blocks, even the bigger ones, are meant for that, but the rebar is not. We can't be coming in and hitting the parking blocks. We're supposed to come in and kind of coast gently to a stop and then back off a little bit. Just make sure you're not coming in too hot. The person backing has the right of way. When you guys are leaving the bays here, I know you can see with the student mirror out the back for the most part, but you still have blind spots that is not your backup mirror. If somebody's backing, they have the right of way. They cannot see you, especially if they've got buses beside them. And then lastly from the shop, because it was brought up last week. So for the last, 5-6 years we've had these buses, we haven't really had to change too many tires on the big buses. Well, we're starting to need to, which means getting some of these, we've had to change out the rims or at least have spare rims on hand. And with that, we've gotten some universal rims where it looks like somebody welded the outside of the rim. What it is universal rims have more than one spot for a valve stem. So then whoever the tire shop, they weld in a plug to seal that off. So if you see one that has like a gray spot sitting inside the rim, I know I forget which bus it was on, but we have at least one of them. So just be wary, it's a plug, it's meant to be there. It's just to fill that hole. Any questions on anything like that? Or any questions for the shop that I can answer? No?
The railroad crossing.
No? Or,
Railroad crossing?
we did railroad crossings already.
Well, we do it like 12 times a year.
I know, but it's such a good one.
Oh, I know you love that video so much.
I just love it.
You know, I really wish they'd come out with a better video. They have one, but they take out all of the actual real-life examples out of it, of all the accidents. And I think that doesn't quite hit home as well as the one with the accidents does. Now, we're going to go over speed management.
Did you want to move up?
All right, so I know earlier in the year, November, we went over icy road conditions, stuff like that, and this does touch on this a bit, but the main reason we're going over this is the speeding complaints we've gotten. We've gotten a significant amount lately. You guys really gotta watch your speed out there. The public is watching. It makes it worse when you pass one of the speed signs and they can see that you're speeding without having to look at their car. Yes. I will tell you, there was 2 years ago, unintentionally, I was heading to, there was a bus that had been in an accident. I was heading to the tow lot to go check out our bus. And I was following one of our own buses up Randall Road. And we hit the spot in St. Charles where you go down the hill and you hit the speed zone. Sure enough, I watched our own driver doing 10 over the speed limit.
Yeah, the speed radar on Kirk Road is broken. It's like, you do 45, but it'll say 56. You do
Well, yes,
45.
I was in a bus that went past that one. And I watched the bus's speedometer and I watched the speed. That one is off. It's weird.
Same with Kingsville, from St. Peters.
And it blinks at the wrong time. I don't think
Daylight savings time.
I know, but sleep.
All right.
Sleep.
So, you guys ready?
Yeah.
I know you guys want to get out of here, especially because it took longer and we're almost at our hour. All right. Proper speed, oh, stop Siri. Proper speed management means operating at an appropriate speed for all road conditions. Includes taking into account the condition of the road visibility, condition of the road, and traffic speed and flow. That does not mean if everybody else is doing 80 that you do 80. Not that you can, but. All right, so the objectives are to discuss the 3 factors that affect your stopping distance, recognize ways to manage your vehicle's speed through curves and grades, describe why you should adjust your speed when you encounter poor road conditions, heavy traffic, or inclement weather, and why maintaining a safe speed is important as a professional driver. Let's see if it'll play. Nope, doesn't want to play. It was a video that has a truck trying to drive through inclement weather and heavy traffic on the highway and showing the stopping distance. So you should always be able to stop within your field of vision. In other words, you should be able to stop within the distance you can see ahead. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 3 factors involved in stopping a vehicle: perception distance, reaction distance, and braking distance. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 1/34 of a second. At 55 miles an hour, a commercial vehicle travels roughly 145 feet in that amount of time. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second, and at 55 miles an hour, that's an additional 60 feet traveled. So right now you're at a little over 200 feet traveled, and that's just between the time it took you to see it to actually hit the pedal. The braking distance is the distance that it takes the vehicle to stop once the brakes have been applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road and weather conditions. We all know that the weight, as soon as you get fully loaded with kids, it takes the bus significantly longer to stop. The length, our average vehicle is 39 feet for our big bus, is what we have for all of them. And at 40 miles an hour, it needs at least 4 seconds of space. A 60-foot truck at the same speed needs at least 6 seconds of space. So that's, we all know what the 4 seconds of space is, right? It's when you see the vehicle in front of you hit a street sign, you count for Mississippi. If you can hit 4, then you are within 4 seconds stopping distance. If you didn't make it to 4 yet, then you need to slow down. The faster you drive, the greater your braking distance. When traveling at 60 miles an hour, the braking distance is 9 times greater than when traveling at 20 miles an hour. And all of this is obviously affected by length, speed, road conditions. If it's icy, wet outside, leaves on the ground, it's going to take you longer. If your vehicle has air brakes like ours do, there could be another half a second delay before your brakes actually engage. In that time, your vehicle will travel another 30 feet or so. This delay is often referred to as brake lag. It's one of the few downsides of air brakes versus hydraulic brakes. When you add together the perception, reaction, and braking distance of a loaded vehicle traveling at 55 miles per hour in ideal conditions, could travel a total of 450 feet and take about 7 seconds to stop in total. When traveling at higher speeds, that stopping distance obviously becomes greater. You understand what that means? We gotta be paying attention to what's coming up ahead. It's seeing those street lights and knowing how long that's been green, and is it gonna turn yellow? Do we need to start braking sooner? Are we approaching a stop sign and the person in front of us hasn't hit the brakes yet? We need to take all that into consideration. How a road is designed will also play a part in how you manage your vehicle's speed. When operating on a curve or a grade, you will need to take factors into consideration that you may not have to address when operating your car. The posted speed limits on curves are designed with cars in mind. Driving a bus or a truck through a curve too fast, at or above the posted speed limit, can cause several problems, including skidding off the road and rolling the vehicle over. Slow to a safe speed before entering the curve at least 5 miles an hour below the posted speed limit, and slow down as needed, but keep in mind that braking in a curve can be dangerous. It is easier to lock your vehicle's wheels and cause a skid. Never exceed the posted speed limit in a curve, and also to help maintain vehicle control, be in a gear that will let you accelerate slightly as you go through the curve. Gravity and vehicle weight play part in speed management when driving on upgrades and downgrades. On an upgrade, your vehicle has to work harder to fight the pull of gravity and maintain its speed. To maintain speed, you must place more pressure on the accelerator and or shift to a lower gear. We all know we're not shifting though. On a downgrade, your vehicle is working with gravity, resulting in an increase in speed. Vehicle weight also has an impact on the speeds going down a grade. Heavier vehicles want to accelerate faster than lighter ones, and you must use care in maintaining a speed and a safe and even speed. The condition of the road will play part in determining the safe speed to travel. If you encounter any of the following, you should slow down and use extra caution. There are times when you will encounter the pavement dropping off sharply at the edge of the road. Driving too near the edge of the road can tilt your vehicle toward the side of the road. This can make it difficult to steer your vehicle should you cross the drop-off when going off the road or trying to return to the road. Foreign objects. Things that have fallen onto the road can be a danger to you and other motorists. They can be a danger to your tires, wheel rims, and get caught in between dual tires. Foreign objects in the road can also cause damage to electrical and brake fluids. Though an object may appear to be harmless, you cannot be certain. That box or bag that appears to be empty may contain something that could cause damage to your vehicle. And that means you have to watch out for anything. Julie, I'm going to throw you under the bus on this one.
I know you are.
It was a bathroom sink. It was in the middle of the road. It had fallen off of a truck, and Julie had no choice but to go straight ahead. So be wary. It did no damage to the vehicle, but it's not something you expect to see sitting in the middle of the road.
Not a sink, a toilet?
No toilet, just a sink. Road construction. We've had a lot of this late, not necessarily road construction, but we've had a lot of water main breaks that they've been fixing in Geneva. Road construction poses its own set of hazards. Narrower lanes, sharp turns, and uneven surfaces are all hazards experienced in a work zone. Watch for construction workers and pay attention to other drivers who may be distracted. Make sure you reduce speed limits, and make sure you travel at or below the posted speed limit. Many states have enforcing enhanced penalties at exceeding the speed limit in a work zone. Illinois is one of those. Weather conditions. Traction and visibility are two factors that are affected by extreme weather conditions. Traction is necessary for vehicle control. The less friction between a vehicle's tires and the road, the less traction. Certain road conditions reduce traction and lower speeds are necessary. When driving in poor weather conditions such as rain, fog, snow, or driving at night, you will need to slow down so you can stop your vehicle within your field of vision. Rain is one of those such events. As rain begins to fall, it mixes with the oils in the road, causing them to rise to the road surface. Until enough rainfall breaks down and washes them away, there will be a layer of slippery oil between a vehicle's tires and the road. This condition can last anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours. New pavement is more slippery when wet than old pavement. New pavement has a greater concentration of oils that have yet to be washed away by years of rain. White foam on the road is an indication of oil and mixing water, a clue that the road surface is slippery. Heavy rain can cause a vehicle to hydroplane or cause a vehicle's tires to lose traction and skim along the water's surface. When a vehicle hydroplanes, its tires are not in contact with the road and traction is lost, resulting in the loss of vehicle control. If recent rainfall has been heavy, approach standing water with caution. When it rains, vehicle speeds should be reduced by at least 1/3. Fog. This is about to become a lot more prevalent as we start changing seasons and the temperatures start to get warmer out and still cold at night. This is the most common visibility challenge you'll face when driving. It limits your ability to see far enough ahead and to judge distances, and it also limits the ability of other drivers to see you. Fog is often unexpected and visibility can deteriorate quickly. If you come upon fog, reduce your speed and use low beam headlights or drive within the range of your headlights. and never assume the fog will clear once you have entered it. Make sure you're also using your strobe in inclement weather, but in fog especially. The last day we had a heavy fog, we noticed a lot of people were going out without their strobe lights on. Those are there to have people it helps them to be able to see your vehicle.
Matt, you're not supposed to run your strobe when there's nobody on the bus. You have to wait till you get passengers.
I've heard mixed things about that, Rudy. The way I treat it is, if it's inclement weather, I'm going to use the strobe. Whether there's somebody on there or not, you're just trying to make yourself more visible in inclement weather. Snow, hopefully we're almost done with this, causes reduced traction and limited visibility. Light powdery snow can cover the road and form a slick, smooth surface. A heavier slushy snow can affect vehicle control. If the snow becomes hard and packed, it can form an icy surface. Vehicle speeds should be reduced by at least 1/2 in snowy conditions. Remember, when determining vehicle speed in snowy conditions, you must be confident that you can safely stop and maneuver based on the road conditions. Means if you've even reduced your speed by 1/2 and you're still not confident you can slow down in time, you need to slow down more. Ice-covered roads can be even more dangerous than the snow-covered roads. When temperatures are near freezing, you have to be alert to the potential for black ice. Black ice forms when temperatures drop rapidly and the moisture on the road freezes into a smooth, nearly invisible, slippery surface. In black ice conditions, the road appears to be wet when actually it is icy. To check for ice formation, feel the front of the vehicle's mirrors or antenna. If ice is forming there, it is also forming on the road. Also watch for the spray off of other vehicles. If the spray stops, the ice may be forming. At the very least, you should slow your vehicle speed by 1/2 in icy conditions. As with snowy conditions, when determining vehicle speed, you must be confident that you can safely stop and maneuver based on the road conditions. When temperatures drop, bridges will always freeze first, and if slippery conditions are likely, avoid any change in driving habits while crossing over a bridge, especially at the intersection of Peck and Kesslinger. Driving at night, hazards aren't as easy to see, and you may not recognize them as quickly as you would during the day. Because of this, you should reduce vehicle speed and increase the following distance, and drive within your range of your headlights. Overdriving the headlights can adversely affect your visibility, as well as your ability to stop for hazards. You all know what overdriving is? It's going too fast where you can't stop within the field of where your headlights can see. Heavy traffic the safest speed is generally the speed of the other vehicles on the roadway, provided you can maintain an adequate following distance and you are not violating the posted speed limit. If you are unable to maintain a safe following distance, slow your vehicle 3 to 4 miles per hour, less than the flow of traffic. Often drivers believe that exceeding the speed limit can save time. When operating in traffic, it isn't always the case. If you are traveling faster than the speed of other traffic, you will have to pass other vehicles. This increases your chances of being involved in an accident. This type of driving can also add to the level of your fatigue, which can also increase your chances of being involved in an accident. It is best to go with the flow of traffic when safe and legal to do so. Make sure you are always maintaining a safe speed. Speed limits are based in part on the principles of good speed management, and they take into account several issues, including sight distance limitation, road conditions, and traffic volume. There are many reasons why you should not speed, including accidents, penalties, maintenance costs, and fuel economy. We won't go over accidents. That's just a picture of one, but Mary's talked about what we've had in district so far. 2 or more convictions of excess speeding with in either a commercial or non-commercial vehicle can disqualify you from operating a commercial vehicle. That means if you get 2 tickets, even if it's in your personal car, you can lose your CDL or have it suspended at the very least. Maintenance costs at higher speeds can affect tires and brakes wear out faster at higher speeds. As speed increases, so does the overall wear. And your fuel economy decreases at higher speeds. We're gonna skip over cruise control since generally we don't have a speed height roads long enough that we can use that here anyways. And are generally just used to kick up idle by the mechanics on cold days. Alright, any questions on any of that? Alright, you guys are free to go.